Hello students, a very warm welcome to today's Zoology class. Today we will be discussing about reproductive health. So, what is this reproductive health? Why should we study about it? And what are the components of this particular topic? So, first let us see what all we will cover in this topic. Reproductive health. What is reproductive health? What is the need to study this particular topic? What are the strategies that are employed for maintaining a reproductive health in a society? Then we will study about sexually transmitted diseases, what are their mode of transmission and what are the different preventive measures we can take in order to prevent the transmission of these sexually transmitted diseases. So, coming to the first part, why at all do we need to study about reproductive health? What do we mean by reproductive health? We can define reproductive health as the complete well-being with respect to all the aspect of reproductions. When we say all aspect, it will include your behavioral aspect, emotional aspect, social aspect, also the socio-economic aspect. Everything taken together will constitute the reproductive health. As per the WHO notification, it says that reproductive health means a total well-being in physical, emotional, behavioral and social aspects of reproduction. When we say physical, that means your reproductive organs are in proper shape and they are properly functional. And when we say the behavioral aspect, we deal with the behavioral strategies or the behavioral and emotional behavior of the individuals within the society. Now, why do we need to maintain reproductive health? There are a numerous variety of problems due to which we need to maintain reproductive health. What are these problems? These problems are overpopulation. As you can see in the slide, these are overpopulation, sexually transmitted diseases, deformities of the newborn child, maternal mortality rate and infant mortality rate, health of the mother, early marriage and many such issues are to be dealt with when we talk of reproductive health. Discussing about each aspect, we can say overpopulation or population explosion is a major constraint for maintaining reproductive health. How is it a constraint? Because when we live in an overpopulated society, the death rate goes down and the life expectancy increases, as well as your mortality rates also go down. So, this leads to a huge population in the society, and when the number of individuals in a society increases, it leads to various problems, also leads to the problems regarding reproductive health. Ill maintenance of reproductive health because the health facilities will not be adequate. Then coming to sexually transmitted diseases, these are a major concern because we do not talk about it much. We do not have much conversation amongst our parents, teachers or our society regarding these norms. So, the lack of knowledge in the general public leads to particular we can say constraints in maintaining proper reproductive health. Coming to early marriage condition, in India still there are certain places where early marriages are continued. So, this also poses a threat for a proper reproductive health. Health of mothers, even today in our society, health of mothers is neglected. Whatever is left over finally goes to the mother or the lady of the house. So, when a mother is carrying a child or is pregnant, proper health has to be maintained. If we fail to do so, it leads to improper reproductive health. And coming to deformities, when we talk about a newborn child, if it is deformed, then it also indicates as a negative concern for reproductive health. And what is maternal mortality rate and infant mortality rate? That is the number of deaths of the carrying mothers or the infants that take birth. Now, coming to infant mortality rate and maternal mortality ratio in India. As you can see in the slide, we have a figure which shows a comparative account of rural, urban and total infant mortality rate in India as per the sample registration system of India. We see that since 2001 till 2017, there is a decline in the infant mortality rate. In the right side chart, you can see the maternal mortality ratio in India is indicated. Starting from 1990s to 2017, the rate has declined considerably, and we are hopeful that by 2030, the rate will further decrease. What are the major causes of maternal death in India? When we talk about mortality rate, we should also discuss about what are the major causes of maternal death in India. So, as you can see in this pie chart, the maternal death is due to a variety of reasons: hemorrhage, sepsis, abortion, obstructed labor, hypertensive disorder and other such causes lead to the death of mother during pregnancy. So, now that we know about all these problems, how are we going to deal with it? There are certain strategies, or there are certain design certain strategies to maintain the reproductive health. Now, the strategies, they cannot work in isolation. When we say about plans or methods that are undertaken by the government as well as non-governmental agencies to deal with reproductive health, we can talk of family planning programs, we can talk about introduction of sex education at school and college levels, so that people or the teenagers, they can discuss with their parents, adults and teachers regarding the sex education, and they can have a proper education regarding the reproductive health. Also, the awareness program about sexually transmitted diseases can help in this particular manner. The marriageable age of fertile candidates, that is the boys and girls, are 21 and 18 respectively. Awareness about reproductive and child health care is also a major strategy towards maintenance of reproductive health. Only after a child is born, we have to take care of the child along with the mother, then only we can maintain proper reproductive health. Talking about better medical facilities, prenatal and postnatal care is a must when we talk about reproductive health. So, there should be adequate medical facilities for this particular purpose, and then there should be focused research in reproductive health area. We still do not have enough research in this particular area. So, there need to be more amount of research work to be carried out in case of reproductive health. Now that we have discussed the strategies how to maintain the reproductive health, let us have a look at what are the different government policies that were formulated for this particular purpose. In the slide before you, we can see a list of government policies in a chronological order. Starting from 1951 to 56, the National Family Planning Program was adopted by Government of India. From 1961 to 66, the Department of Family Planning was created in the Ministry of Health. Then in 1974 to 79, there was a campaign for male sterilization, and the renaming of family planning to family welfare was done. In 1983, the National Health Policy was introduced. In 1985, the Universal Immunization Program was undertaken. In 1985 to 90, various programs were included under maternal and child health, and in 92 to 97, child survival and safe motherhood programs were undertaken. In 2000, the National Population Policy was put forth. In 2002, the previously formed National Health Policy was reviewed, and in 2005, the Reproductive and Child Health Part 2 was taken up. From 2013 to 17, National Rural Health Mission was introduced, which dealt with the rural as well as the urban health missions. So, this is all about the government policies that were taken up. Now, let us see what are the sexually transmitted diseases. The sexually transmitted diseases are those which are transmitted through sexual intercourse with an infected person, and these are also called as venereal diseases, or we can also say that these are called as reproductive tract infection or RTI, and these are caused by various causative agents that includes bacteria, virus, protozoa, fungi, etc. And some common examples of mostly occurring sexually transmitted diseases are syphilis, genital herpes, AIDS, etc. Now, coming to a chart of the agents and the diseases that are caused, the diseases that result by the infection of these agents. We have bacterial agents, viral agents, protozoal agents, fungal agents and ectoparasites. Some of the bacterial agents include Neisseria gonorrhoeae that causes gonorrhea, and we have chlamydia species that also causes non-gonococcal urethritis. There is Treponema pallidum that causes syphilis. We have Donovania granulomatis that causes granuloma inguinal. We have Haemophilus vaginalis that causes non-specific vaginitis, and we have Mycoplasma hominis which causes mycoplasmal infections. The viral agents that cause STDs are human immunodeficiency virus or the HIV virus that causes AIDS. We have the human or the herpes simplex virus which is HSV2 that causes genital herpes, and we have hepatitis B and C virus which also causes viral hepatitis. The protozoal agents include Gardnerella vaginalis and Trichomonas vaginalis. These all they cause infections, that is your bacterial vaginosis and Trichomonas vaginitis. One of the fungal agents are Candida albicans that causes monilial vaginitis, and the ectoparasites include scabies as well as the crab louse which is the Therus pubis. These are the ectoparasites that cause the sexually transmitted diseases. Now, coming to what are the signs which can be considered as an indication of sexually transmitted diseases, or what are the symptoms that we can look for in a patient of sexually transmitted disease. We can look for clear white, greenish or yellowish vaginal discharge in women suffering from sexually transmitted disease. We can look for yellowish discharge from the penis in men having sexually transmitted infections, and there might be a strong vaginal odor in women having sexually transmitted infections. There might be vaginal itching or irritation. There might be itching or irritation inside the penis also in case of man. There might be a feeling of burning sensation during urination, and there might be pain during sex or intercourse. So, if all these symptoms are seen, we can say that that particular person is suffering from sexually transmitted diseases. Now, coming to individual diseases, some we will discuss a very few of the examples of sexually transmitted diseases. What are the agents, how do they cause the infection, and for you I have got some beautiful slides of their expressions in human body. We cannot say beautiful though, because these are diseased conditions. So, coming to syphilis, syphilis is caused by bacteria which is Treponema pallidum, and in this particular disease there are 4 stages of expression. We have a primary stage, a secondary stage, a latent stage and a tertiary stage. In the primary and secondary stages, the infections they manifest. First, there are sores that are produced. These sores will then produce skin rashes and then they will disappear. So, this is the main reason why we ignore these diseases, because after a particular time of expression they disappear on their own, and again they reappear after many years at times. So, this is why they are very dangerous. there is a latent period or the hidden period during which there is no expression of this particular disease. There are no symptoms that are found. And in the tertiary phase, which will happen after the latent phase, maybe after some time, maybe after a delayed time. So, this will lead to secondary infections of the initial infection that was there, and this might be life threatening. It might cause blindness, it might cause we can say mental retardedness, it might lead to memory loss and many such expressions in the human body. And in the diagram you can see the causative agent is shown. There are sore expressions on the mouth, which are the first phase of expressions. There are pustules on the body or skin rashes, you can see on the palm also rashes are found. So, this is how syphilis expresses itself. Now, coming to the next organism, we will talk about Neisseria gonorrhoeae. This particular organism infects mostly the warm and moist part of the body, that is your urethral and vaginal lining, and maybe at times anus and sometimes the reproductive tract of females. Symptoms are mostly marked after 2 to 14 days of expression, and that is why again there is a delayed expression of symptoms in this particular disease. So, as in many of the cases the symptoms are not expressed, we tend to ignore these diseases, but in the long run these diseases can lead to life threatening conditions. And in the diagram here you can see the causative agent is shown, and the expression how it expresses on your skin is also shown. At times when it travels to the reproductive tract of the female, it may lead to pelvic inflammatory diseases, and these pelvic inflammatory diseases might also lead to infertility. We never know that the cause. Sometimes the cause of ectopic pregnancy can be a gonorrhea infection. So, there are many secondary outcomes of these particular sexually transmitted diseases. Coming to the next slide, here we can see how this particular agents are traversing the female reproductive tract, or what is the pathway of entry of these causative agents. In the diagram, as you can see, stepwise it is mentioned. Below the cervix near the vaginal area, the bacteria may enter along with the semen or the seminal discharge. It may pass through the cervix and then enter into the uterus, and from here it might enter into the fallopian tube, ovaries, and then entire reproductive tract might get infected, and through the fallopian tube this infection might pass to the rest of the body parts. Coming to one more infection, which is genital herpes. Okay, so, here in the figure you can see herpetic sores are seen in your diagram that is shown in your slide. It is a very painful condition, painful blisters are formed, and when the virus enters, it mostly enters through break in the mucous membranes. When there are breaks in the soft tissue, these viruses will enter into the body and they will stay in the nerve cells of the pelvic region until the next expression takes place. These are mostly found in semen and the vaginal discharge, and they will form ulcerous conditions, then they will form a hard crust on them, and then the crust will outbreak. And if suppose a mother is pregnant with genital herpes, there are chances that the baby might get infected with herpes, and it is very fatal for the baby because it may lead to brain damage, blindness, etc. in the newborn. So, if a mother is aware that she is suffering from genital herpes, she should get herself treated if there is a pregnancy. Coming to our next infective agent, we have Candida albicans. It is a fungal infection, and almost every woman in her life might go through one or two fungal infections. Sometimes they go unnoticed because of no symptoms, but at times they lead to major consequences, health consequences. And these are more common during pregnancy because there is fluctuation in the hormonal levels. So, due to the hormonal fluctuations, these yeast they overpopulate in the cervical region, vaginal tract, and then they move up into the cervical region, and these are also aggravated in conditions like, suppose the patient is suffering from diabetes, then also this condition aggravates, and if it is an immunocompromised patient, then also Candida albicans sprayed profusely. And the symptoms that are mostly seen in this case are itching and burning sensation in your urinal parts. Now, with the next agent, here is a diagram which shows you how scabies takes place or how scabies infest your body. In the diagram to the left, you can see the epidermal lining. Below that, you can see eggs are laid. It is a ectoparasite, and it enters into your tissue and lays eggs and feeds on your tissue. Most of the books, they say that scabies do not come under sexually transmitted diseases, but these are sprayed by close contact also. So, it can be propagated through sexual transmission or during coitus. Now, coming to Pediculosis pubis. Here in this diagram, you can see lice. So, in human body, we have, first let us come to this slide. In human body, we have three different kinds of lice. One is a head lice, one is a body lice, and one is a pubic lice. You can see in this diagram, there is a comparative account of their sizes, and this lice, they infest the body parts where there is presence of hair. In man, as I told you, there are three categories of lice. In the pubic hair, we find this particular lice, which is Thyrus pubis, and it causes a sexually transmitted disease which is called as Pediculosis pubis. It leads to severe itching, low grade fever, and whenever or wherever this lice will scratch your skin, there will be blue spots near the bites. Here in this diagram, you can see the pubic hair being infested with lice, and in the solo diagram, you can see how the lice is holding on to two hair follicles. It is called crab lice, commonly due to its appendages which resemble the crab. Now that we have dealt with some of the common infections, common STDs or sexually transmitted diseases, how do we prevent them? In order to prevent these particular sexually transmitted diseases, we should know about the proper transmission pathways through which they travel and how they infest the body. So, now that we have discussed some of the pathways through which they have infested your body, we can come to the steps leading to prevention. So, the first thing is to avoid sex with unknown partners or multiple partners. We should always be loyal, or we should always have a single partner. Next step, and it is a major step, because in teenage people combine alcohol, drug and everything. So, this is a major mistake which should be avoided. Do not mix alcohol, drug and sex, and always use condom during sexual intercourse or coitus. And in case you have a doubt, you should visit a qualified doctor for early detection and proper treatment if diagnosed with a disease. There is no harm in consulting a doctor if you are apprehensive that you might be sexually transmitted some diseases. Now, what more can we do? We can wash off the genitals both before and after sexual intercourse to avoid the passing on of some ectoparasites, if at all they are there, and we can avoid sharing the towels, underclothes and toothbrushes with our partners. And most importantly, if there are injections or needles and other surgical instruments that are used in the treatment of hepatitis B and AIDS patient, they should be properly disposed of, because these can also transmit those diseases. The most important part is, whenever a lady is pregnant, she should get tested for any kind of sexually transmitted disease, because it might harm the infant or it might harm her baby. And one more criteria for prevention is, if we have not taken hepatitis vaccination, we should also get ourselves tested for STDs expressions. Now, so with this we complete our part of sexually transmitted diseases and how they should be prevented. The most important thing being we should be open, we should not be conservative regarding sex education, sexually transmitted diseases and their prevention and care. There is nothing wrong in discussing all these aspects with a doctor, with a family member, with a teacher, with an adult, because after all health is the most important aspect of our life. And if we are not aware about all these aspects, it is us that will suffer. It is us who will have to take all the pain for these diseases. So, it is you can take it as a advice that sex education and talking about sexually transmitted diseases and their expression should be a major concern among all teenagers, and they should open up properly with whoever they are confident about. So, this is all that we have discussed in the first part of your reproductive health concerning what is reproductive health and how the sexually transmitted diseases occur and can be prevented. Next, we will deal with birth control methods. One more interesting topic of zoology dealing with reproductive health, that is your birth control and the methods that are applied in this particular birth control. So, why do we need to have birth control and what are the methods that are included in this particular subheading of the chapter? So, the need or the special need for birth control is overpopulation. As you all might be knowing, we are a overpopulated country, and this overpopulation or population explosion we have already discussed in the last class. There are three major reasons, that is the declining death rate, increased life expectancy due to improved medical health care facilities, and the declining maternal mortality rate as well as the infant mortality rate. Everything accounts for the growth in population, and so we need to control the birth rate in order to have a check on the population. So, this is what is called as birth control, controlling the rate of birth in order to have a control over the exploding population. We use different methods for this particular purpose, and some of these you can see are noted on the slide. Those include motivating smaller family concept, that is motivating the citizens to have smaller families by using contraceptive methods. Then we can spread social awareness using media, through posters, through slogans. You all must have heard hum do, hamare do, happy family. So, all these slogans we can propagate using the mass media. Then comes one child norm. What is this one child norm? We can suggest the urban and working population who are in the fertile zone of their life to have a single child, because it will not affect their work efficiency and it will also lead to some amount of control for the over exploding population. And next we can also statutorily rise the marriageable age, which has already been done by the government. The marriageable age for females is 18 years and those for male is 21 years. Below that, marriage is illegal. And last but not least, we can use contraceptive methods to prevent unwanted pregnancies. So, how all these things work together? Let us see, let us have a look. First, coming to contraception. What do you mean by contraception? Contraception is a particular method of using contraceptives to avoid pregnancy. And so, if we say contraceptive, what is contraceptive? Contraceptive is ideally a chemical or a barrier or a physical means through which we can avoid pregnancies. So, the particular features that makes a contraceptive ideal are it should be user friendly, it should be easily available in the market, one does not have to go searching for it, it should be easily available, it should be effective, that is it should effectively help in preventing pregnancy, and it should be reversible with no or least side effects. Will you use a product that has side effects? The obvious answer is no. So, in order to be an ideal contraceptive, it should be reversible with less, minimal or no side effects, and it should not, most importantly, it should not interfere with the sexual drive or the desire of the sexual act. Now, coming to what are the different methods or what are the contraceptive methods that can be used for checking pregnancies. We have a number of methods. Some of these are shown on the slide. First one being the natural or traditional method. Second is your barrier method. Then we have the intrauterine devices. Then the oral contraceptives. We have injections and implants, and finally the terminal surgical methods. So, these are some of the contraceptive methods that are undertaken these days. What are natural methods? When we come to methods of contraceptive uses, we will deal with what each of it includes and what are its benefits. So, natural method, as the name suggests, we are not using any foreign agency, we are not using any foreign particle for it. It is a natural method. You must have remembered from your previous classes when we have discussed menstrual cycle. It was a 28 days cycle starting from 0 to 14th to 28 days. Why I am talking about menstrual cycle is this natural method employs this simple mechanism which is followed by your menstrual cycle or menstruation. On the 14th day of menstrual cycle, ovulation takes place or there is a LH surge. So, in natural method what we do is we practice periodic abstinence. What is periodic abstinence? Periodic abstinence is avoiding sexual intercourse during the fertile period of your menstrual cycle of a female. What is the fertile period? This is my fertile zone, which is from 10th to 17th day of your menstrual cycle. This is the fertile period. So, if we do not practice sexual intercourse during this particular period, pregnancy can be avoided. So, it is called as periodic abstinence. Next is your withdrawal method or coitus interruptus. As the name suggests, withdrawal, we have to withdraw something, and interruptus means we are interrupting a particular phenomenon. So, coitus interruptus is when the vaginal tract during your sexual intercourse, we have the vaginal tract and the penis is inserted into the vaginal tract. So, during the sexual intercourse, the male partner must know when to withdraw, and that particular time is just before ejaculation, just before the introduction of sperms into the vaginal tract of the woman. If the penis is withdrawn, then we can avoid pregnancy because the sperms will not enter your vaginal tract. And the last one is lactational amenorrhea. Amenorrhea means there is no menstruation, and lactational amenorrhea means when a mother is lactating after pregnancy, giving birth to a child and lactating a child, at that particular period there is no menstruation, and this is usually for 6 months after the childbirth. During this period, due to absence of menstruation, there is no natural pregnancy or the chances of natural pregnancy is reduced. So, these are the natural methods, easy to remember: periodic abstinence, withdrawal method or coitus interruptus, and finally, the lactational amenorrhea. And in each of the three methods, the names are suggestive of the act that they are doing. And then what is the benefit of this particular natural method? The first benefit is we are not using any foreign particle, we are not using any foreign agency to be introduced into the either the vaginal tract of the woman or the penis of the man. So, we are not using any external agency, it is very safe. it follows the natural method, and then it has no side effect, almost no side effect, or you can say less side effect. And it has the major disadvantages being it has high chances of failure, because a human body is never predictable. We cannot predict with 100% accuracy the fate of any physiological activities that are taking place within our body. So, there are high chances of failure. Even during periodic abstinence, suppose a person has a 30-day cycle and we are accounting for 10th to 17th day, in that case it may result in pregnancy. Suppose during the withdrawal period it is delayed, sperms might enter into the vaginal tract, and even in case of lactational amenorrheic period, in some females the period is shorter. So, there might be chances of pregnancy. So, these are the consequences of your natural methods. Now, coming to barrier methods. Barrier methods, we will use different types of barriers. Let us see what are the different type of barriers we use for barrier methods. We use some physical agencies or barriers that will prevent the fusion of sperm and ovum, and these are diaphragm, cervical caps, condoms and vault caps. Let us see them in details. What are these barrier methods and how these particular barriers are introduced into the reproductive tracts and how they function. In this diagram, you can see this is a diaphragm. It is a closed dome shaped structure and it is made up of soft rubber that fits over the cervix, and it is used along with a spermicidal agent. Then we have the cervical cap. It is a miniature diaphragm, almost like a diaphragm, that will cover the cervix. Here you can see in this picture it is a vault cap, which is a dome like structure, hemisphere made up of rubber or plastic cap with a thick rim which is meant for fitting over the vaginal vault over the cervix. In this diagram you can see condoms. Now, condoms are applicable for both the male and female partners. In the left side diagram you can see a male condom, and in the right side you can see a female condoms. These are made up of thin rubber or latex sheath which is used to cover the penis in male and the vagina and cervix in case of female, and these are to be used just before the coitus or the sexual intercourse has begun. Now, in this diagram let us have a look what it says. We can see how the diaphragm, the female condom and the cervical cap are inserted into the vaginal tract and the cervix of the female genitalia. And you can see in the diaphragm it is capping the cervix, along with it, it has contraceptive jelly applications. Same is with cervical caps as well as the female condoms. So, these are barriers that will prevent the sperm entry into the vaginal tract. Now, what are the benefits of barrier method? We have already discussed the benefits and consequences of natural method. Let us see what are the benefits of barrier methods. First major benefit is prevention of sexually transmitted diseases. As they act like barriers, they will not help in transmission of sexually transmitted diseases. Second thing is they are very easily disposable. So, they are very easy to use and dispose. Third most important point is spermicidal jellies are used, creams and foams are used, and this will increase the contraceptive efficiency. Now, what do you mean by contraceptive efficiency? Whenever we use any product, if it achieves the goal for which it is prepared, we say it is a high efficient product. Similarly, if these barrier methods, whatever we have seen, the caps, the vaults, the diaphragms, these all are meant to prevent pregnancy, and with the help of these spermicidal jellies and foams and creams, the contraceptive efficiency increases. They efficiently inhibit the entry of sperm into the vaginal tract, thereby preventing pregnancy. Now, the diaphragms, cervical caps and vaults are reusable. So, there is no wastage, but condoms are always single use. And the most important point being high contraceptive efficiency as compared to natural methods. We saw a major loophole in natural methods, that there are high chances of failure, but in case of barrier method it has high contraceptive efficiency as compared to your natural method. One more method of contraception, which is your intrauterine device or IUDs. What are these intrauterine devices? When we say intra, it means within the uterus, something that is placed within the uterine cavity of the female. Those devices, we say that they are intrauterine devices. We can categorize them under three headings. First one is your non-medicated, second is your copper releasing IUDs, third is your hormone releasing IUDs. They all have the same basic principle, shape remaining same, just difference in the agents they carry. First one is our non-medicated IUD. The example of this particular IUD is lipase loop. Okay, I will show you all the diagrams. What it does, as it is a foreign agent, when it is inserted into the vaginal tract of the woman, it leads to phagocytosis of the sperms within the uterus. Okay, so, rate of phagocytosis increases because we have already introduced a foreign substance. So, it will increase the rate of WBC formation and it will phagocytize the sperms that will enter the uterine cavity. Coming to the copper releasing IUDs, we have copper T and multi-load copper Ts. What will these copper Ts do? They will decrease the copper ions in these devices, they will decrease the sperm motility and the fertilizing capacity of the sperm. If you can remember, we have studied about capacitation in our previous classes. Capacitation is increasing the fertilizing ability of the sperm, and here what these copper devices do? They release copper ions into the medium that will decrease the sperm motility as well as the fertilizing capacity of the sperms. Coming to hormonal or the hormone releasing IUDs, they are almost same in structure to those of the copper releasing IUDs, except for they have a structure that is loaded with hormones that will prevent pregnancy. Okay, and these makes the uterus unsuitable for implantation. These hormonal secretions from the devices, they will make the uterine lining, we can say it is unsuitable for the implantation to take place if at all fertilization takes place. Now, in this diagram you can see in this particular slide we have the lipase loop, which is our non-medicated IUD. We have a copper T. You can clearly mark the copper wire being wound on the main shaft, and in the third diagram you can see the hormonal IUD, where it is a T-shaped structure and the steroid is loaded in the middle shaft. Here is a diagram which shows how these IUDs are introduced into the uterine tract. We have the vaginal tract, we have the cervix and then the uterine lining. So, with the help of a tube, in the first diagram you can see with the help of a tube it is first inserted into the uterine cavity, then the tube is removed. In the second diagram it is clearly seen that the tube is removed, and when the tube is removed the IUD opens and replaces itself in the way it is meant to be inside the uterine cavity, thereby it is obstructing the travel of the sperms, and if at all sperms successfully get into the fallopian tube, fertilization takes place, it will inhibit or prohibit the implantation by thinning out the lining of the uterine cavity. Here in this diagram you can see a female uterine tract which has a hormonal IUD being inserted, and here you can see it is properly spaced, and this will inhibit the sperms, it will make the cervical plug thicker as well as it will obstruct implantation process. Now coming to oral contraceptives. Now that we have learnt about intrauterine devices, let us come to the next method, which is oral contraceptive. Oral means something we take with the help of our mouth. So, oral contraceptive are doses of hormones that are taken through your oral route, that is small doses of progesterone or a combination of progesterone and estrogen in the form of pills, and these pills are taken for a period of 21 days. Again, going back to the menstrual cycle, this menstrual cycle, we have the fertile period, a particular sequence of fertile period from 10th to 17th day, and bleeding period follows. So, first phase is your bleeding, then there will be remake of the endometrium, then again it will fall off or break down. So, what happens when we take oral contraceptives? These contain hormones, and these hormones, what they will do? They will avoid pregnancy for 21 days. And what are these 21 days? These 21 days are those days that excludes the bleeding phase or the menstrual phase. The bleeding phase is the phase in which the oral pills are not taken. So, up to 21 days the pills are taken, then there is a 7 days gap. In the diagram you can see there are 7 red color tablets. These are, you can say, these are just vitamin doses, and they do not have any hormonal constituent in them. So, these oral contraceptives will be taken for 21 days, and the main function is they will inhibit ovulation. Okay, they will inhibit ovulation, and if at all fertilization takes place, they will inhibit implantation also, and they will alter the cervical mucus quality. So, they will help in obstructing the sperm from entering into the cervix. And what is the advantage of using these oral pills? It is they have less side effects and they are widely accepted. Now, the 4th generation medicines are very widely accepted and with less side effects as compared to the previous oral contraceptive pills. And nowadays, even once a week oral contraceptive pills are available. You do not have to take it for 21 days. Once in a week you take a pill, and then during the bleeding phase or the menstrual phase, stop the medications. That is how you can avoid pregnancy using oral contraceptives. Coming to the next method of your contraception, which is injection or implantation. Now, taking a pill every day, whenever we are having a diseased condition, we almost forget to take a pill. So, taking a pill every day might be cumbersome. We may not remember in the daily work, in the daily stress, we might forget to take a pill. So, what will happen? It might lead to pregnancy. So, in such cases, injections and implants come to help. These are progesterone alone or combination pills where estrogen and progesterone are combined as injections, or small implants that are placed in your skin, underlying skin. And the advantage is it remains effective for a longer period, and we do not need to remember it daily to take a pill. Now, coming to the last and the terminal method. Why I say terminal? Because it is the most conclusive method of terminating pregnancy, that is the surgical method, and we also call it as sterilization method. If a couple decides not to have any further issues or not to bear a child, they can go for surgical methods. So, surgical methods are those that are irreversible and terminal in nature, and they will block the gamete transport, and thus they will prevent contraception. So, we have surgical methods applicable for both male and female. They are vasectomy in case of male and tubectomy in case of female. In this particular slide, you can see the vas deferens is cut. So, vas deferens is the way through which the sperm will travel to the penis. So, if we cut the vas deferens and tie it, the sperm entry into the penis will be restricted. Similarly, in case of females, the tubes, the fallopian tubes are cut. Therefore, we say it is tubectomy. In case of females, the sterilization method is tubectomy. Here, a small part of the fallopian tube is removed or tied up through incision of the abdomen or the vaginal area. Through the abdomen or the vaginal area, a cut will be made, incision through which instrument will be inserted, which will cut the fallopian tube, and once this fallopian tube is cut, what will happen? The ovum that is released will not be able to travel and it will not get fertilized. So, this is a highly effective method, but the reversibility is very poor, because once tubectomy or vasectomy has been done, the condition cannot be reversed, and if that particular couple wants to bear a child after that, they will not be able to do so. Coming to the last part of our contraceptive methods, we will deal with this particular topic, which is medical termination of pregnancy or MTP, medical termination of pregnancy, that is induced abortion or the intentional voluntary termination of pregnancy before full term, and it is almost safe up to the 12 weeks of the first trimester of pregnancy. What is the need of this? Whenever we want to get rid of unwanted pregnancies, we go for this method, and this unwanted pregnancies might be due to casual unprotected intercourse, failure of contraceptives during coitus, and in some cases it is essential where continuation of pregnancy can be harmful for either the mother or the fetus. In that case also we go for MTP. Significance of this particular process is it will help in decreasing the human population, and it will also avoid the formation of deformed babies or the birth of deformed babies. If there is a deformed embryo, we can get rid of it through the MTP, so that we will assure that the child that is born is not unhealthy or not deformed. What are the drawbacks? Drawbacks is misuse of amniocentesis to determine the sex of the unborn child, and it is also misused as a case of female feticide, and mostly it is prepared illegally. So, these are the major consequences of MTP. So, I hope with all this, the birth control and contraceptive methods, you might have got a clear picture of how the birth control can be achieved and what are the different issues that are dealt with all the methods of contraception. Thank you.